This is the week where a Los Angeles judge found there was enough evidence to try the singer, real name David Anthony Burke, for the alleged murder, sexual abuse, and mutilation of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. That decision coming after a days-long preliminary hearing in which prosecutors presented reams of evidence that they claim proves the singer stabbed the teen and then dismembered her corpse, all before allegedly hiding her body in the trunk of his Tesla. The grisly images of her remains were shown as evidence in court, along with hundreds of text messages and photos between the dead teen and David that gave an inside look at their alleged illegal sexual relationship. By the way, speaking of that relationship, today, People magazine confirmed that Celeste wasn't pregnant at the time of her death, even though there was evidence about a purported abortion. But in spite of the mountain of evidence, or perceived mountain of evidence, there were gaps in the case that the defense may exploit at a trial. For example, the prosecution still doesn't have the murder weapon, the alleged murder weapon. So how do prosecutors plan to fill in those gaps? What do they have? I spoke to LA District Attorney Nathan Hochman in an exclusive interview earlier today. Here's a look at our conversation. Hello, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's good to see you again. Congratulations. Big win this week. I just want to start off how you're feeling, your office is feeling, and most importantly, I don't know if you've had a chance to speak with Celeste's family in the last couple of days. I know this has been a lot to go through this preliminary hearing. I'm curious how they're doing.
So the family is doing as well as you can expect, having lived through this incredible tragedy of initially believing their daughter was just missing, and then finding out that she'd been murdered and her body had been dismembered and stuck in the front of a Tesla. And as far as what happened this week, again, it's a step towards the ultimate result, which is to get a conviction for first-degree murder for the barbaric and horrific crime that David Anthony Burke, distinct David, has conducted. And this was a step, the preliminary hearing. Judges held him to answer on the 3 felony counts that we presented. The next step will be an arraignment and then eventually a trial.
You say the step. It's interesting because, look, as I've told my viewers, and you and I both know, the prosecution doesn't have to present all the evidence that they have at a preliminary hearing. And you mentioned this earlier on the week when you said that what was presented was only a fraction of the evidence. But, look, I followed every second of this. And the defense, they highlighted what they argued were gaps in the prosecution's case, particularly the murder and mutilation charges. So I'll just list out a few things that they mentioned. They said no surveillance footage of Celeste arriving at the home. The Uber driver can't say where he dropped Celeste off. No positive blood on the chainsaws. Celeste inviting herself over there instead of being lured. How do you know David watched her bleed out in the home? No statements from David beforehand that he was going to kill Celeste. Do you have more evidence that hasn't been shared that is going to address all of that at a trial?
In short, yes. And I'm not going to go, obviously, through it right now. That evidence will be presented at trial. But you can imagine that a lot of the situations where we are allowed to use hearsay, in other words, the detectives were talking about their investigation, people they spoke to, documents they reviewed, in court, we will actually present the people that they spoke to, and we'll present the chain of custody to get to the documents that they reviewed. So we'll be able to present a lot of the evidence that will rebut, even more sufficiently than we've already done, all the arguments being made by David's counsel. That being said, ultimately what happened is that Celeste Rivas Hernandez shows up at his house on April 23rd, 2025, at night, and is never heard from again. 5 months go by, and her body is dismembered and found in 2 different bags, a cadaver bag and a black trash bag, in the front trunk of his Tesla. He, as the evidence has shown, has ordered basically different types of saws, an inflatable pool, the contents of which were found, some of the contents of which were found in her bones when the bones were discovered, cadaver bags. He took trips to Santa Barbara, which is well over probably 100 miles away from his home, the night in which she is last seen. And then eventually her identification is found on the road that the Tesla, we were able to track the Tesla to in Santa Barbara County. So there's a tremendous amount of circumstantial evidence. And as you're aware, circumstantial evidence is as powerful and the jury will be instructed of this as direct evidence. That's how we're going to convict David.
100%. Circumstantial evidence, of course, is very powerful. The defense did something interesting, though, because we were waiting to see what they may say, how they might challenge the evidence, kind of a preview of what a trial would look like. What I took away from it, this idea, do you really know what happened in the house? Is it possible that maybe she did something to herself that night? Or that David acted in self-defense, that she physically threatened him in the way they kind of references to these messages that she allegedly sent him. I think there was a question about, can you definitively say what happened in that home? I mean, what was your reaction to them presenting that form of defense?
We anticipate all different types of defenses. When you basically have done the crime, your lawyers are going to come up with all different possibilities of what could have occurred, other than what the evidence will show beyond a reasonable doubt as to what did occur. We know, for instance, that the reason we can sort of time frame the time that she arrives at the house is we'll know that from the Uber driver. We can also time frame the time that he then calls her cell phone and effectively asks her where she is. Well, goes ahead and sends a text message to that in that respect, which is about 20 or 22 minutes later. And we know that she is at the house. She's arrived at the house. She never leaves that house. He then goes again to Santa Barbara that night. Again, it's not something that you necessarily would do if nothing had happened at your house, and you certainly wouldn't order a shovel thereafter, and you wouldn't order different types of chainsaws, you wouldn't order an inflatable pool, and you wouldn't order cadaver bags if, in fact, something happened. And as was pointed out during the preliminary hearing, even if at some point she injured herself or anything like that, at no point does he call 911 or take any steps whatsoever to deal with the fact that she ended up bleeding out that night in his home. So again, we don't have to prove at trial, the standard of beyond all possible doubt.
Right.
That's not the standard, as you're aware. It's beyond the reasonable doubt. And we think when a jury uses its common sense and reason, and here's the overwhelming timeline that we have put together that points in only one direction, which is to his guilt on first-degree murder, we think a jury will then eventually come to that resolution.
Do you have a theory about what happened to that purported missing chainsaw? Because there was a conversation about whether or not that might have been used in anywhere, allegedly used, and whether or not it was, discarded at some point. Do you have any theory that you're going to present regarding that chainsaw?
All our theories, and more important, all the evidence that we're going to present will be in that court of law.
Okay.
To a jury, 12, to get that unanimous verdict.
So let me ask you this about a trial. And the reason I bring this up is, look, I was just reading the transcripts. I was reading the reporting about what happened in that courtroom. The photos that were shown of Celeste's body, the allegedly sexually graphic photos that were found or allegedly found on David's phone, it was difficult for me to even read it. As I'm looking at this, I'm wondering, do you want to spare a jury from having to view any of this? Do you want to spare the family from having to view any of this? The reason I'm asking, is there room in any way? Is there a road, a path out there whereby you would work out some sort of plea deal with David to avoid any of this? And look, I have to call it out, the death penalty hasn't been announced yet.
So you are correct. Because it's a first-degree murder with special circumstances case here in California, the punishment can either be life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. As far as the death penalty goes, we go through a very rigorous process in my office, using the most senior attorneys in the office to evaluate every aggravating and mitigating factor that will be presented. We will be looking forward to getting a presentation by David's lawyers that will inevitably present the mitigating factors. We'll be speaking with the victim's family. Certainly we'll look at the evidence. Whether or not David wants to come forward with some offer, David and his counsel are always free to make an offer. Until and unless an offer is made that we think comports with the evidence and obtains the justice for the Hernandez family, we will be proceeding to go to trial.
All right, interesting stuff. My thanks again to DA Nathan Hochman.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.